Welcome to SpaceThrillHFY, where humans rise in the face of impossible odds. Tonight's tale begins with a single mistake. A human caught speaking to a traitor under alien skies, only to be marked by a furious Beastwoman before the eyes of an entire market. What begins as betrayal will spiral into war, sacrifice, and a bond that defies the galaxy itself. If you crave suspense, romance, and the raw power of humanity's will to survive, stay with us till the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to SpaceThrillHFY for more thrilling human versus alien stories. The market of Telnar Station was alive with noise. Smoke and 1,000 scents no human nose could ever get used to. Traders shouted in rough alien tongues. Neon lights flickered above stalls, and guards in bronze armor pushed crowds back with spears that hummed faintly with power. Mark Callan, the only human in that sector, tried to keep his head down. His jacket was torn, and the burn scar on his arm from last week's raid was still raw. He had come here for one reason only: to trade a piece of stolen tech for food. But he was not alone. Watching him from the shadow of a high arch, the Beastwoman's eyes glowed like amber fire. Her fur, dark as storm clouds, bristled when she saw him approach the alien trader. To her people, a human making a deal with an off-worlder was betrayal. To her, it was something more personal, an insult that cut into the strange bond she didn't admit existed between them. The trader hissed through thin lips, his scaled face glistening in the heat. "You bring it? The core?" Mark unzipped his pack and showed the glowing cube. "Enough rations for a week. And bandages." His voice was steady, but his pulse quickened. He knew a dozen pairs of eyes were already fixed on him. Humans weren't welcome here. The trader's long tongue flicked. He pushed a sack across the counter. Done, and then it happened. A flash of movement. Claws scraped stone. The crowd gasped and pulled back. The Beastwoman stormed forward, tall and fierce, her mane wild, her jaw tense. She didn't speak. She didn't warn. She bit him. Her sharp teeth sank into the side of his shoulder where everyone could see. The pain shot through him like fire. But worse was the silence that followed. The entire market froze. Dozens of species turned their heads. The guards stopped moving. The trader's scaled eyes widened. Mark staggered, clutching his shoulder, trying to understand. "What the hell are you doing?" He hissed under his breath. The Beastwoman's lips curled back, showing blood on her teeth. "You belong here, not with them," she growled low so only he could hear. "I mark what is mine." His mind raced. "Mine?" The word struck him harder than the bite. She had claimed him before 1,000 strangers, and now he was trapped between the law of her people and the wrath of everyone watching. The crowd broke into murmurs. Some laughed cruelly, others whispered curses. A metal horn sounded in the distance, echoing across the station. The guards began to march forward. Mark's first thought was survival. His second was escape. But deep inside, a strange flicker of something else stirred. Confusion mixed with fear, and something dangerous he dared not name. He wiped the blood off his collar, glaring at her. "You just started a war," he muttered. Her eyes softened for a second, regret flashing like a hidden spark. Then her claws tightened on his arm. The war already began. "You just didn't see it." Behind them, the alien trader shoved the sack away, refusing to touch it now. "Both of you, out!" Before the guards drag you through the gates, but it was too late. The guards were already there. Their spears glowed brighter, aimed at Mark and the Beastwoman. One of them barked orders in a language Mark couldn't follow, but the message was clear: surrender. The Beastwoman's ears flicked back, her chest rising with heavy breaths. She didn't surrender. She raised her claws, pulling Mark closer to her side like a shield, or maybe like a partner. Mark felt the eyes of the crowd, the heat of the spears, the blood dripping from his bite. His voice trembled, but his mind sharpened. "If I stay, I die. If I run, I betray her. If I fight, everything changes." The crowd waited. The guard stepped closer. The Beastwoman whispered one more thing in his ear, so low it sent chills through him. "Choose, human. Tonight decides everything." And in that moment, the market of Telnar Station held its breath. The guards closed in, their bronze armor clattering as the glowing spears pointed at Mark's chest. The market's noise had died into a tense silence. Every alien eye was on him. He wasn't just the human outsider anymore. Now he was the human who had been bitten, marked, and claimed. Mark's shoulder burned from her teeth. He could feel warm blood soaking into his jacket, but the pain wasn't the worst part. It was the humiliation. Dozens had seen it. Dozens whispered. He could hear them. "The Beastwoman has taken him," they said, "a human bound to her tribe." The Beastwoman's claws didn't let go. Her grip was like iron, pulling him closer to her body as though he was already hers. Her amber eyes shone with defiance. She bared her fangs at the guards, daring them to strike. Mark's heart pounded. He wanted to scream, to shove her away, but the look in her eyes stopped him. It wasn't just pride. It wasn't just power. It was fear. One guard barked, his voice like metal scraping stone. "Step forward. Both of you." The crowd shifted, hungry for blood. Mark whispered, "Let me go. If they see us together, they'll kill us both." But the Beastwoman leaned closer, her hot breath brushing his ear. "If I let you go, they'll kill you alone." The words hit him hard. He knew she was right. A lone human had no allies here. But standing beside her? That was dangerous in another way. The guards advanced, weapons humming louder. The traitor had already vanished, pulling his goods away from the cursed stall. The crowd pressed in, waiting for the spectacle. And then, she made her move. With a sudden roar, the Beastwoman dragged Mark backward into the shadows between two stalls. The spears jabbed at empty air. She kicked over a barrel, smoke bursting into the market. Cries rose as the crowd scattered. Mark stumbled with her, gasping. "You're insane." "Quiet," she growled. Her hand pressed over his bleeding shoulder. He flinched, but the pressure slowed the blood. She pushed him against the wall, close enough he could see every line of her fangs, every glint of fury in her eyes. "Why?" he demanded, voice shaking. "Why bite me? Why claim me? What game are you playing?" Her gaze burned, fierce and unyielding. "It's not a game. You think you can speak to traitors, deal with thieves, walk as if you are free? You are not free. You are prey here. I bit you so they will not touch you." Mark's mind spun. Claimed, protected, or trapped. "Do you hear yourself?" he hissed. "You just made me a target. They'll hunt me now." Her voice softened, almost breaking. "They were already hunting you, human. You just didn't see it." The words chilled him. He thought of the scar on his arm from the raid. The strange eyes that followed him in every corridor. Maybe she was right. Still his anger boiled. "You think this makes us allies? You think biting me makes me yours?" For the first time, her expression faltered. A flicker of something raw crossed her face. Her claws lowered slightly. "I don't want you as mine," she said quietly. "But the world has chosen it. They will see you that way now. My people. They will not forgive." Mark's chest tightened. There it was, the emotional twist. This wasn't about him. This was about her. By marking him, she had condemned herself too. He stared at her, confused, furious, and strangely drawn to her at once. "So now what? We run?" A distant horn blared again. The guards were spreading, searching the alleys. The market would be swarming with soldiers soon. The Beastwoman stepped back, her silhouette sharp against the faint light. Her mane rippled as she turned her head toward the shadows. "Not run, fight, survive, and maybe show them that humans are not so weak after all." Mark laughed bitterly. "I'm one man with no weapon. You expect me to fight your war?" Her eyes locked on his. "No, I expect you to fight for yourself." "That is enough." Before he could answer, the shadows stirred. 3 figures appeared at the far end of the alley. Mercenaries in black armor, faces hidden behind masks. They carried long blades that glowed faintly. The Beastwoman's ears twitched. Her body stiffened. She whispered, "Not guards, hunters." Mark's stomach dropped. Hunters, paid killers, not bound by law. One of the masked figures pointed at him. The human, alive. His voice was cold. "The beast, kill her!" The Beastwoman growled, low and thunderous. Her claws unsheathed with a metallic click. Her amber eyes flashed. Mark's throat went dry. He pressed against the wall, torn between terror and awe. She stood tall, fearless, as though the whole galaxy could burn and she would still not bend. The hunters advanced. Mark felt the world slow. The market's chaos faded. His heart beat like war drums in his ears, and in that moment, a choice hung heavy before him. Stay hidden and let her fight alone, or step forward into the storm that had already claimed him. The Beastwoman crouched, ready to strike. She didn't look back at him, but her voice carried a weight that crushed his chest. "Decide, human. Tonight you are either prey or something greater," and the alley lit with the glow of blades. The alley burned with silence, broken only by the hum of glowing blades. The three hunters stepped forward with the patience of predators, their masks shining under the dim market lights. Mark felt his throat tighten. He had faced danger before, raids, smugglers, street gangs, but this was different. This was execution. The Beastwoman moved first. With a roar that shook the stone walls, she leapt, claws slashing. Sparks flew as her strike clashed with the nearest hunter's blade. The other two fanned out, their movements sharp and disciplined. They had fought her kind before. Mark pressed against the wall, his mind screaming, "Run now, live later." But his body wouldn't move. His eyes were locked on her. The way she twisted, dodged, struck, her muscles flowing like liquid fire. She was fighting 3 trained killers for him, but even she was outmatched. One hunter fainted, another swept low, and the third slashed her side. She staggered, a growl of pain ripping from her throat. Blood dripped on the cobblestones. Still, she refused to fall. Mark's fist clenched. His heart hammered. And then he saw it, the smallest detail, a crack in their formation. The lead hunter was focused on her throat, his stance open for just a second. Mark's body moved before his brain caught up. He grabbed a broken pipe lying near the wall. With a desperate shout, he swung it into the lead hunter's helmet. Metal rang. The hunter stumbled back, surprised. The Beastwoman's eyes flicked to Mark just for a heartbeat. A spark of shock, then something else. Approval. She struck again, this time with renewed fury, ripping the blade from the stunned hunter's grip and turning it against him. One down, but the other two pressed harder. Mark stumbled back, his pipe useless now. One hunter caught him across the chest with a hard shove, slamming him into the wall. Pain exploded through his ribs. "Stay down, human," the masked voice growled. "You were never meant to survive here." Mark gasped, blood in his mouth. His vision blurred. The hunter raised his blade to finish it, and then came the twist. A sharp whistle pierced the night. The hunters froze. From the roof above, a fourth figure dropped down, taller, clad in silver armor with the crest of the traitors on his chest. The Beastwoman hissed, her fur bristling. Mark blinked, confused. Another enemy? But the silver-armored figure raised a hand. "Enough." His voice was calm, commanding. The hunters lowered their blades, but reluctantly. The man removed his helmet. His face was lean, sharp, and disturbingly human. Mark's stomach turned. "A human, another one. Here," the Beastwoman snarled. "Traitor," the man smirked. "Survivor." His cold eyes turned to Mark. "And you?" "Another lost soul in the wrong place." Mark's pulse quickened. "Who the hell are you?" The man stepped closer, ignoring the Beastwoman's growl. "Name's Kyle. Once I was like you, chased, starving, desperate. But I learned the truth. Humans don't survive by fighting beside beasts." His gaze hardened. "They survive by siding with power." Mark's breath caught. He understood now. Kale wasn't here to save him. He was here to offer a deal. The Beastwoman bared her fangs. "Don't listen to him. He sold his own kind to the traitors." "He sells everything," Kale's smirk widened. "And yet I live while your kind dies in cages." His eyes returned to Mark, sharp as knives. "Come with me. I'll give you protection, food, a place. All you have to do is step away from her." The alley fell silent again. Mark felt the weight of the choice crush him. The hunters stood waiting. The Beastwoman's claws dripped blood, her breathing ragged. Kyle extended his hand, smooth and steady. "Betray her and live. Stand with her and die." His chest rose and fell. His shoulder burned where she had bitten him. He remembered her words. "You are prey here." But he also remembered the way she had shielded him, bled for him, fought for him when no one else had. Kyle's voice cut through the air. "Decide, brother. Do you want to be a slave to beasts or a king among traitors?" The Beastwoman whispered, barely audible. "Don't." Her voice cracked with both fury and fear. Mark's whole world spun. His blood dripped on the stones. His lungs screamed for air. His heart demanded an answer. And then, he stepped forward. The Beastwoman's eyes widened, betrayal flashing like fire in the dark. Kale's lips curled into a smile. He clasped Mark's arm firmly. "Wise choice." The hunters lowered their blades. The Beastwoman staggered back, claws trembling, her voice breaking. "You chose them?" Mark's chest twisted with guilt. He wanted to explain, to scream, to tell her it wasn't that simple, but the words wouldn't come. The hunters moved aside, letting him pass. Kale guided him into the light. Behind them, the Beastwoman sank to one knee, blood pooling under her. Her amber eyes locked on his retreating figure. Mark looked back only once. The pain in her gaze was sharper than any blade, and deep inside, something tore apart, because in choosing survival, he had betrayed the only one who had ever stood by him. Mark walked beside Cale, his step stiff, his chest tight with guilt. The silver-armored human moved like a man who owned the ground beneath him. Around them, the hunters flanked like wolves, silent and deadly. The market had emptied, but the echoes of whispers followed them. The Beastwoman betrayed. The human taken by traitors. Mark's shoulder throbbed where her bite still burned. He kept his eyes forward, but every step felt like he was walking away from something greater than himself. Behind him in that dark alley, she had bled for him, and he had turned his back. Cale's voice cut through the silence. You did the right thing. Don't let guilt choke you. The Beastwoman's kind would have dragged you down with them. You'll thank me soon enough. Mark clenched his fists. You call it right? She saved me. Cale smirked. Saved you from what? Dying a day earlier? That creature is doomed. Her tribe is fractured. The hunters won't stop until she's nothing but a corpse, and you would have been beside her. Mark's stomach twisted. So you just let them die? Cale's eyes gleamed. Better them than us. They reached a fortified gate at the edge of the market. Towers rose above, glowing blue with alien script. Traders in silver robes bowed as Cale entered, their reptilian eyes following Mark with cold calculation. Cale clapped his shoulder. Welcome to survival, brother. But Mark didn't feel like he had survived anything. He felt hollow. Inside, the halls of the trader compound smelled of incense and burning oil. Alien banners hung from stone pillars. Guards lined the corridors, watching him like a specimen. Cale led him to a chamber with a wide fire pit in the center. Sit, Cale commanded. Mark sat stiffly, his mind replaying the Beastwoman's eyes, the way betrayal had broken through her fury. He couldn't escape it. Cale poured a dark drink into a metal cup. Do you know why you're still alive? Because you're valuable. The traders don't waste resources on beasts that bleed. But a human? That's rare. You'll be protected, trained, given a place among us, Mark frowned. Protected for what? Cale leaned forward, his smile sharp. For war. The word sent a shiver down Mark's spine. Before he could reply, a guard entered, bowing. The beast escaped. She's still alive. Mark's chest tightened. He looked at Cale quickly, but Cale only laughed. Good, let her run. She'll draw out the rest of her tribe. The traitors want them exposed. And now, his gaze turned to Mark. You will help us find them. Mark froze. Me? Cale nodded. She marked you, bit you. That bite isn't just blood, it's a link. Her kind leaves more than scars. The traitors can track it if you let them. Mark's breath caught. His hand touched his wounded shoulder. A link, a bond? He remembered the strange fire in her eyes, the way his chest had burned when she whispered to him. Could it be true? No, Mark muttered. I won't. Cale's expression hardened. You think you have a choice? Look around. You're in their stronghold now. You belong to them or you die. The hunters stepped closer, blades glowing faintly. Mark's chest pounded. His throat felt dry. He realized the betrayal wasn't finished, it was only beginning. That night they locked him in a chamber of stone and iron. Chains hung from the walls. The bite on his shoulder burned hotter, like fire spreading under his skin. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't escape the image of her amber eyes, the way she had said, "Tonight decides everything." Hours passed. Then, movement. A whisper. A shadow in the corner. He sat up quickly. Who's there? From the darkness, a figure stepped forward. Tall cloaked, eyes glowing faintly gold. The Beastwoman, his heart lurched. You how? She raised a claw to silence him. Her voice was low, trembling with fury and pain. You betrayed me. Mark's chest tightened. He couldn't meet her eyes. I had no choice. They would have killed me. Her claws dug into the stone wall. And now you lead them to my people. Do you know what they will do? They will burn every den, slaughter every child. Because of you. His breath caught. He hadn't thought of that. He hadn't thought beyond his own survival. I didn't mean... Her growl silenced him. Meaning doesn't matter. Action does. The silence between them felt heavier than chains. Then, slowly, her voice shifted, softer but sharper. But the bond is real. You feel it, don't you? The fire in your blood. The way my Mark calls you. That's why you can't sleep. That's why you hear my voice in your chest even now. Mark's heart pounded. She was right. The burn in his shoulder wasn't just pain, it was connection. Something deep, primal, terrifying. She stepped closer, her eyes glowing in the dark. You betrayed me once, but you will not betray me again. When they send you to track us, you will choose. Them or me, survival or honor. Mark swallowed hard. He wanted to deny it. He wanted to shout at her. But her presence was overwhelming, like the storm of 1,000 drums. Why give me another chance? He whispered, her eyes softened just a flicker. Because I saw you fight. You are not only prey, you can be more. And if you are more, maybe there is hope. She turned, her cloak fading back into the shadows. When the time comes, human, choose wisely, or your blood will burn you alive. And then she was gone. Mark sat in the silence, his heart tearing between guilt and fear, survival and something he couldn't name. The fire in his shoulder spread deeper, as though her words had planted themselves inside his very bones. And for the first time, Mark realized, his betrayal wasn't finished. It was only the beginning of a war within himself. The fire pit in the trader compound hissed low, shadows dancing across the walls. Mark sat shackled to the stone, his mind torn apart. Kale's words echoed, "You'll help us track them." But the Beastwoman's voice was louder, burning in his chest like her bite. When the time comes, choose wisely. The chains rattled as the door creaked open. Kale entered, his silver armor shining, his smirk sharp. Behind him came the hunters, blades humming softly. "It's time," Kyle said. "The traders are ready. You'll lead us to her tribe." Mark shook his head, jaw tight. "I told you I won't." Kale crouched, his eyes narrowing. "You think you have the luxury of defiance? You belong to them now. That bond in your blood, we'll use it with or without your permission. The trackers already taste it." Mark's chest froze. He hadn't realized they could exploit it. Kale's voice lowered. "But if you cooperate, you won't just live, you'll thrive. We'll raise you above the filth of this station. A seat at the table, a name. A future." The hunters yanked his chains, dragging him to his feet. As they marched him through the compound, Mark's shoulder blazed hotter. Every step made the burn stronger, like a compass pulling him through stone corridors and iron gates. His breath grew ragged. He knew he was being dragged closer to her. They emerged into the wastelands beyond the market. Jagged rock, broken towers, the skeleton of an ancient war long forgotten. The air was thick with ash. Kyle raised his hand. "Spread out. She's near." The hunters split, forming a half-circle. Their eyes glowed red through their masks. Mark staggered, the fire in his shoulder screaming louder. And then, he felt it, a presence, watching, breathing, close. From the ruins ahead, a shadow rose. Tall, fierce amber eyes glowing like embers in the dark. The Beastwoman. Mark's knees weakened. She looked stronger than before. Her wounds wrapped, her mane wild, her claws dripping with resolve. Behind her, faint shapes stirred, others of her kind hidden in the ruins waiting. Kyle smirked. "There she is. The prize." He shoved Mark forward. "Go on, call to her." "She won't resist her bond." Mark stumbled, his throat dry. His heart pounded, torn in two. The hunters raised their blades, ready to strike at her signal. The Beastwoman stepped into the open. Her voice rang clear, trembling with fury. "Human, you stand among those who would burn my kin. Speak now, are you their weapon or are you mine?" Mark froze. The entire wasteland seemed to hold its breath. Kale leaned close, whispering like a serpent. "Choose survival." "Choose me." The fire in Mark's shoulder roared. His body burned as if her voice had lit his blood. He remembered the alley, her claws shielding him, her bite sealing a bond he hadn't asked for but couldn't deny. He remembered the betrayal and the second chance. His jaw tightened. "No more running," he muttered. Kale's smirk faltered. "What did you say?" Mark turned, his voice louder. "I said, I'm not yours." With a roar, he swung his chains, slamming them into the nearest hunter's mask. Sparks flew, the blade dropped. The Beastwoman surged forward, claws ripping into another hunter's chest. Chaos erupted. The hunters struck from every side, blades cutting through air. Kale shouted orders, his voice furious. Mark fought with raw desperation, every movement fueled by fire in his blood. He caught a blade mid-swing, wrenched it free and drove it into the ground at another's feet. The Beastwoman fought like a storm. She moved with him, not against him. Every strike he made she followed, every gap he left she filled. It was as if the bond wasn't just blood, it was rhythm. But Kale was no ordinary enemy. He cut through the battle with precision, his silver blade clashing against the Beastwoman's claws. Sparks lit the ruins as they locked, teeth bared, growls shaking the stones. Mark lunged to help, but a hunter tackled him down. The blade rose high, and then it stopped. The Beastwoman's roar split the night. She drove her claws into the hunter's throat, ripping him away from Mark. Blood sprayed across the ash. She pulled Mark to his feet, her amber eyes burning. "You are mine to guard," she snarled. Mark's chest heaved, sweat and blood mixing on his skin. He wanted to argue, but the words tangled. Because part of him, deep and undeniable, wanted it to be true. Kale's voice boomed. Pathetic. "You think one beast and one lost man can stop me?" He raised his blade high, silver flashing under the dead stars. "I will cut this bond myself." He struck down, the force shaking stone. The Beastwoman shoved Mark aside, taking the blow across her side. Blood sprayed, her roar echoing. "No!" Mark shouted, lunging back to her. She staggered, claws trembling, eyes dimming. But she stood between him and Kale, refusing to fall. Mark's heart cracked. He realized her sacrifice wasn't about survival. It was about him. She had chosen to bleed for him again and again. And now he knew. His betrayal had ended. His choice was final. He raised the fallen hunter's blade, fire coursing through his veins. He stood beside her, shoulder to shoulder. "No more prey," Mark said, voice steady. "Tonight I fight." The ruins shook with the clash of silver and claws. The hunters circling, the Beastwoman roaring. And Mark, the lone human, wielding his blade with the fury of 1,000 choices. The sacrifice had been made. And the war had just begun. The ruins trembled under the fury of the battle. Sparks sprayed, blades clashed, and roars echoed into the night. The ash-filled air burned Mark's lungs. But his grip on the fallen hunter's blade never wavered. Beside him, the Beastwoman staggered, blood darkening her side where Kale's silver strike had torn through her flesh. Yet her stance never bent, her amber eyes still locked on their enemies. Kale circled them, his silver armor gleaming even under the broken sky. His smirk was gone now, replaced by cold focus. "You think you've chosen strength," he said, his voice carrying through the ruins. "But you've chosen death." The last two hunters closed in, their blades humming, steps synchronized like predators tightening the kill. Mark's pulse raced, but the fire in his shoulder burned hotter, spreading through his arms, his chest, his very breath. He glanced at the Beastwoman and realized something. They weren't fighting as two anymore. They were fighting as one. "Left," she barked. Mark swung to the left without hesitation, his blade intercepting the strike of the first hunter. The impact rattled his bones, but the fire steadied him. "Duck," she roared. He dropped low and her claws slashed overhead, ripping through the second hunter's throat. Blood sprayed, the body collapsing. The bond pulsed between them, raw and undeniable. Every move, every breath, every strike, they were in rhythm, bound not just by bite, but by something deeper, something that felt older than war itself. Kale's eyes narrowed. "Pathetic tricks," he raised his blade. "You'll both die screaming," he charged. The force of his strike slammed into Mark's guard, sparks exploding. The blade's hum threatened to split his skull. Mark gritted his teeth, his arms trembling, but he refused to fall back. The Beastwoman leapt in, claws flashing. Kale twisted, parrying her strike with brutal precision. His blade lashed out, carving fresh wounds into her arms, her chest. She roared, fury shaking the ruins, but blood poured freely now. Mark's heart twisted. She was breaking. Her body could not hold much longer. "Stay with me," he shouted, his voice cracking with desperation. Her amber eyes flicked to him. For a heartbeat, her gaze softened, then hardened again, blazing with fire. "Fight, human." Kale shoved Mark back, blade pressing closer. "You don't belong beside her." "You never did." Mark's jaw tightened. "Then why does it feel like I was meant to?" With a roar, he pushed back, slashing wide. Kale dodged, his smirk returning. "Good, anger makes you sharp. But you'll never beat me. I've killed more of your kind than you can imagine." Mark's chest heaved. His ribs burned. His blade felt heavy. But then he remembered. The market. The alley. The betrayal. The second chance. Her sacrifice. Every moment that had led him here. He wasn't just fighting Kale. He was fighting the part of himself that had once chosen survival over honor. The Beastwoman lunged again, claws raking across Kale's armor. Sparks burst, dents tearing through the silver plating. KL growled, spinning to slash her throat. Mark moved without thinking. He stepped between them. The silver blade pierced his side. The pain was blinding. Fire ripped through his body. His knees buckled, his breath caught. He heard her roar, echoing like thunder across the ruins. Kyle yanked the blade free, blood spilling hot down Mark's waist. He staggered, his vision dimming. The Beastwoman caught him, her claws steadying him. Her voice shook, raw with fury. Why? Mark's lips curled into a weak smile. Because no one else ever fought for me like you did. Her amber eyes widened, wet with something he had never thought he'd see. Tears. Kale raised his blade again, fury burning in his eyes. Then die together. But the bond flared. The fire in Mark's blood surged brighter than ever. His body felt weightless, his mind sharper than pain. He gripped the blade tighter, his stance firm despite the wound. The Beastwoman sensed it too. Her claws glowed faintly, fire crackling along their edges as though the bond had awakened something ancient. Together they moved. She roared, slashing high. Mark lunged low, blade cutting upward. Their strikes crossed, hitting Kale's chest at once. Silver armor shattered. Sparks and blood erupted. Kale staggered, eyes wide with disbelief. Impossible. Mark's voice was steady, firm. Not impossible, human. With one final strike, they drove him back. His body crashed into the ruins, blade falling from his hand. His chest stilled. Silence fell. The last hunter fled into the shadows, unwilling to face them. The ruins echoed only with the crackle of fire and the sound of their ragged breaths. Mark collapsed to his knees, clutching his wound. Blood pooled beneath him. The Beastwoman knelt beside him, her claws trembling as she pressed against his side. No, don't you dare. His voice was faint but steady. Looks like I finally chose right. Her tears fell onto his skin, hot against the cold. You fool. You stubborn, brave fool. Mark chuckled weakly. Guess I'm not just prey after all. She pressed her forehead to his, her mane brushing his cheek. Her voice cracked like breaking stone. No, you are more. The fire in his shoulder pulsed one last time, the bond glowing faintly, wrapping them both in warmth. And for the first time, Mark didn't feel like an outsider. He felt like he belonged. The ruins stood silent, the stars dim above. The war was not over. The traitors would come. The hunters would rise again. But in that moment, in the ashes of betrayal and sacrifice, a new truth had been carved into the galaxy. A human and a Beastwoman bound by blood, by fire, by choice. And together, they would never bow. His body felt weightless, his mind sharper than pain. He gripped the blade tighter, his stance firm despite the wound. The Beastwoman sensed it too. Her claws glowed faintly, fire crackling along their edges as though the bond had awakened something ancient. Together they moved. She roared, slashing high. Mark lunged low, blade cutting upward. Their strikes crossed, hitting Kale's chest at once. Silver armor shattered. Sparks and blood erupted. Kale staggered, eyes wide with disbelief. Impossible. Mark's voice was steady, firm. Not impossible, human. With one final strike, they drove him back. His body crashed into the ruins, blade falling from his hand. His chest stilled. Silence fell. The last hunter fled into the shadows, unwilling to face them. The ruins echoed only with the crackle of fire and the sound of their ragged breaths. Mark collapsed to his knees, clutching his wound. Blood pooled beneath him. The Beastwoman knelt beside him, her claws trembling as she pressed against his side. No, don't you dare. His voice was faint but steady. Looks like I finally chose right. Her tears fell onto his skin, hot against the cold. You fool. You stubborn, brave fool. Mark chuckled weakly. Guess I'm not just prey after all. She pressed her forehead to his, her mane brushing his cheek. Her voice cracked like breaking stone. No, you are more. The fire in his shoulder pulsed one last time, the bond glowing faintly, wrapping them both in warmth. And for the first time, Mark didn't feel like an outsider. He felt like he belonged. The ruins stood silent, the stars dim above. The war was not over. The traitors would come. The hunters would rise again. But in that moment, in the ashes of betrayal and sacrifice, a new truth had been carved into the galaxy. A human and a Beastwoman bound by blood, by fire, by choice. And together, they would never bow.